Hey Droogs, how are you doing? It is Sam from Gemini Martial Arts team, and today we're going to be talking about whether fat and obese martial arts instructors are setting a good example. Booyah! Right, as always guys, firstly, hope you're all doing well, hope you're enjoying yourselves, and spring is on its way, so it's getting nice and warm, so let's get out there and do some training. It's better than staying cooped up indoors. Okay, so to address the title of this video, are fat and obese martial arts instructors setting a good example? Now, allow me to kind of get something clear from the word go. And the purpose of this video is not to say are fat and obese martial arts instructors good at martial arts. That's a different topic. What we're talking about today is whether fat and obese martial arts instructors are setting a good example as instructors for the martial arts, for people wanting to take up martial arts. So let's begin with saying that martial arts, by their nature, are very physically demanding, and a lot of martial arts are young men's sports. To be a good Muay Thai fighter, you'd have to start off quite young. To be a good taekwondo fighter, indeed, if you want to be good at taekwondo, you have to be a young guy, because young guy, young girl as well. Young is the emphasis, not sex. But you have to be young because these martial arts, a lot of martial arts are going to require a lot of stamina, a lot of physical endurance, a lot of energy. If you're going to like full contact fights, you could be sparring upwards of 3 rounds, and a round, I've been in some sparring situations where the rounds have been 2 minutes. That doesn't sound like much, but when you're actually out on the floor, constantly moving, you're constantly on your toes, you're having to have the energy and the endurance to throw techniques. You have to have the energy, the mental confidence as well to actually land techniques on your opponent, and at the same time be willing to be hit and struck in return, and have physical endurance to actually endure the strikes you are inevitably going to be hit with. In a fight, it's quite often not a case of are you going to get hit, it's you are going to get hit, it's just a matter of when. So to be able to actually survive in these kind of environments, it's almost a categorical imperative that you have to be fit. You have to have a lot of physical conditioning, both physically and mentally. You have to be prepared to go the long haul and actually go through these rounds, not get gassed out, not get tired, and endure the duration. And a lot of what I've realized the older I get is that the older you get, the more challenging it becomes to stay in shape. And even at my age, 35, I'm in physically good shape for a 35-year-old. I still go out for runs regularly, I still do exercise regularly, I keep myself in shape, I make sure I don't degenerate into sloppiness or overweight and obesity as well. You know, I'm very much on the ball of keeping an eye on what I eat and training regularly. So I keep myself, for a 35-year-old, most people say I've probably got the fitness of, say, a 25-year-old, not a 35-year-old. But that's just me. We're now going to talk generically about overweight and obese martial arts instructors. So what we just said, a lot of martial arts require you to be in a good physical state. Of course, some martial arts are not as robust. Some would be focused more on self-defense, as opposed to sport combat, in which case their whole approach to physical fitness is going to be different. However, if you were to walk in as a new prospective student into a martial arts school and you see all the students are like in good shape, they're all in different age ranges, but the coach or the instructor is a morbidly big, fat, obese guy, the first thing going through your mind is probably, why is everybody here all in good shape? But the instructor, the guy who's actually meant to lead the show, the guy who's meant to like run the circus, so to speak, is the biggest clown around. For me, going into that kind of environment, I'd be like, well, what's happened? Why are you so big and everybody else is so small? It's like the North Korea syndrome. Why is Kim Jong-un so big and fat, but all the other North Koreans around him are skinny and starving? So that in itself does not set a good example. If you're going into martial arts wanting to stay fit, expecting to become fit, and you come to an environment where your instructor is fat and obese, that should send alarm bells ringing of he either doesn't engage with his own lessons, he doesn't practice what he's preaching, or he's not running a school, a martial arts school or environment catering to physical fitness. Now, we're going to draw the line between health conditions and people letting themselves go. Some people do have health conditions, and actually I did know one instructor many years ago, and he injured himself. I'm not quite sure what the actual specific injury was, but he injured himself, which meant he wasn't able to train as robustly as what he was used to, and he piled on the pounds to the point he actually needed crutches. Now, this individual was still a very accomplished martial artist. He was a very knowledgeable guy. He was a very sound guy. He was very black and white. He was one of the kind of people that what you saw is what you got. Very honest and straight talking. And he was very, I think, embarrassed in himself that he'd become this big and this large and this obese. But he worked gradually over the years, and now he's actually a completely different figure. He's really lost loads of weight. He's actually quite ripped now in comparison to what he was. But that is an example of somebody, an instructor who is fat and obese, not because of gluttony or because they've let themselves go. It's because of a health condition. So he was, as I said, he was still a very knowledgeable guy. He still knew what he was doing. He was still running classes. But when you get an instructor who lets themselves go, they are people who, they get to a certain point and for whatever reason, they almost just give up. They're like, right, keeping in shape is too physically demanding. I don't have the time, in which case you make the time for yourself. When you do physical exercise, you're investing in yourself. And there's no better investment, in my opinion, that you can get in life other than investing in yourself. But these instructors, they've let themselves go. They've lost enthusiasm. They just can't be bothered anymore. And yet, it's these types of instructors who are the ones who then expect miracles of their students. They'll be the ones, from my experience, from what I've seen, they will go around hands tucked into their belts with quite often what comes with these obese, lazy, fat martial arts instructors is a very bad attitude as well, both to training and to life, also to their students. But they will then go up to their students and expect the students to still be able to do amazing feats, like jump up, jumping, spinning, hook kicks consecutively for the whole lesson, 10 rounds of sparring, knockdown sparring, head height kicks, etc. And yet those instructors won't be doing it themselves. They're not practicing what they're preaching. And of course that is a bit of a generalization, but from my experience, from what I have seen, that tends to be a paradigm. It seems to be a repetitive paradigm cycle. Going into a school, seeing an instructor who has let himself go, accompanied with a bad attitude, expecting way too much of their students, claiming that these instructors will still claim that they can still do this stuff a lot of the time, but you never see them do it. Or when you do see them actually get themselves on the floor and throw their shapes around, it's actually quite cringing to watch. And dare I say, actually a little bit embarrassing. So, in my mind, it's those kind of instructors that I'm actually talking about in this video are very good examples of upholding martial arts. Bottom line answer, no. When you do martial arts, as we said at the beginning, you're expecting to get in shape. You're expecting your instructor to be in shape to help you. It's like if you wanted to learn football and your head coach was this morbidly obese guy who you never saw do any of the physical activities yourselves. Most people wouldn't give him the time of day. They'd just be, oh, he's clearly not practicing what he's preaching. He's not leading by example. We'll go elsewhere. There's a coach down the road who's in shape. He engages with his students. He knows what he's talking about. He doesn't have a negative attitude. We'll go to him instead. One thing I found as well, this is something I've thought about quite recently. Bruce Lee. Now, a lot of martial artists the world over take inspiration from Bruce Lee. I admittedly have not been a fan of Bruce Lee. I appreciate he was a philosopher. I appreciate he kept himself well in shape. but I've never idol worshipped him. At the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, he was a human being. He had flaws just like you, just like me, just like anybody else. He had his strengths, he also had his weaknesses. And I don't believe that we should idolize anybody to a degree. I mean, sure, we have people we respect, we have people that we...
Sorry.
I'll edit it. We have people that we respect and we admire and we adhere to and follow. But I find with Bruce Lee, a lot of people will deify him and act as though he was the perfect human being. He was almost Friedrich Nietzsche's epitome of the Superman. That could be for another video. However, upon saying that, Bruce Lee was in amazing physical shape. And I believe part of Bruce Lee's philosophy was not just combat-based aspects of martial arts, but Bruce Lee also had a lot of emphasis on keeping yourself in shape. I know Bruce Lee did a lot of running and jogging as part of his training regime. He wanted to stay in shape, and as far as I'm aware, he would encourage other people to stay in shape as well, or suggest that in order to be a good martial artist, or even just feel good about yourself as a form of personal therapy, do exercise. Keep yourself good and fit. A lot of people who I've trained with who borderline idol worship Bruce Lee will pay a lot of attention to his combat philosophies, but a lot of them won't actually give any time of day to his physical exercise regime. They won't give any time of day to his dietary regime either. So in order to actually be in good shape, it requires both regular exercise, watching what you're eating, just as much as the actual combative aspects as well. So engaging in all three of those sub-disciplines should, in theory, make you a much more attractive instructor, make you much more approachable, and actually set a much better example for aspiring martial artists who come through your door. Okay guys, so that was just a short video there about whether obese and fat and overweight martial arts instructors set good examples. Got any comments or thoughts? Do let me know down below in that comment section. Like, dislike this video. It's a free world, it's a democracy. But in the meantime guys, stay safe, train hard, keep listening to Sepultura because they're the best band around, and I'll see you all in the next video. Booyah!